I recently just went through the top 10 sneakers of 2024, so I thought why not go through the top 10 shoes I reviewed, got in hand, but probably didn't get as much attention as I thought they deserved. So here are my top 10 sneakers of 2024 that are underrated and overlooked. And disclaimer, like always with these lists, it is subjective, it is my top 10. If you have a different opinion, that's great. You might actually be factually correct, but it is my opinion. And I'm only considering the shoes that I reviewed. There are a ton of shoes that came out that I never got my hands on. It would not be fair for me to include those shoes on the list. How would I know if I can't touch and feel and wear the shoe? So here we go. And at number 10, it is the Jordan 1 Midnight Navy. Now, of course, this being a Jordan 1, there's nothing special in terms of the materials, just plain white leather with that polyurethane coating. And I said this when I reviewed the shoe, I really do believe if this shoe came out like 4 years ago, it really would have been super popular. It is about as simple, as clean and easy to wear Jordan 1 as you can get. Just white and blue on the upper with a sail sole. I don't love the sail sole, but you have to admit, as a package, as an entire shoe, this is just like the most versatile as you can get. But it is 2024. Jordan Brand over the past few years have absolutely milked the Jordan 1. So a lot of people have been pretty bored with them. And they probably do have a Jordan 1 colorway that's very similar to this. So I can understand why people didn't really care too much about this shoe. But just objectively in a vacuum, it is still very, very clean. Now, number 9, it is the Puma Suede PlayStation, and it actually came out with a black colorway. This is the one that I chose to get, and I think this is a very nice shoe. Despite being a collaboration, it's not like overdone with branding. It is quite subtle in the way it has branded it. So on the upper, on the suede material, pretty nice materials by the way, for a shoe that's only $100. You do see like DBoss PlayStation branding there, but it's not like in your face. You have to be up close to the shoe to really notice it. And I love the outsole pattern. The box that it came with was pretty nice as well. The Puma Suede, I've never really been like a huge fan of. I don't like look out for them. It's not like on my radar a lot, but it is definitely a classic. It is timeless. It first came out in 1968. It still holds up in 2024. Very easy to wear. Now, even though the shoe isn't like as easy to get from like retailers, you can't just Google it and buy it like at a discount. I remember when this dropped, there wasn't really much noise about it. Not many people were talking about this shoe. Most sizes on Puma.com has run out, but it was a pretty limited quantity anyway. But I do feel like this shoe deserved a little bit more discussion and kind of noise around the release. Now, number 8, it is the Jordan 1 Dusted Clay, another Jordan 1 in 2024 that I feel like was a little bit underrated, a little bit overlooked. And this was a women's exclusive. And my favorite thing about this shoe was overall the unboxing experience. They clearly made the shoe more special. They try to make it more elegant and luxurious. The materials used was very nice as well. The nubuck as well as the suede on the shoe was really nice in hand. I know that sounds cliche, but it really was. And it also is a very good shoe for fall, especially as someone that lives in New England. We're kind of known for fall being very scenic around this area of the country. It is just a great colorway for fall. Great colorway. And at number 7, it is another Jordan 1. It is the Jordan 1 First in Flight. Now, just like the Dusted Clay, the materials on the shoe were pretty nice as well. This was kind of a bit more special of a release, even though it still was like a general release that you can just get on sneakers. Wasn't a collaboration, but there was a story to this shoe, and it was dedicated and a reference to North Carolina. Obviously, Michael Jordan went to the University of North Carolina. That was where the Wright brothers first took flight. So you see this beautiful UNC blue on the shoe, as well as a darker shade of blue and that navy color. I really like the colorway of the shoe. Now, that wasn't just a reference to North Carolina. The gold hints on the shoe was a reference to Georgia Wells, who was the first woman basketball player in college to record a dunk, and she went to West Virginia, and that was the colors of her team. Came with branded insoles with like a hang tag. The unboxing experience was just a little bit more special, and you can actually get this shoe on like Finish Line for a pretty deep discount, with a lot of the sizes still available. And unfortunately, this shoe, because of the oversaturation of Jordan 1s in the past 4 or 5 years, I think a lot of people probably have a very similar colorway to this. Obviously, you have a few different variations of the UNC colorway on the Jordan 1s, so they probably didn't go for this. Hints of gold may also look a bit like an eyesore on this colorway, but overall, if you were thinking about this shoe and you didn't want to pay full price when it first released, I do recommend checking it out. A lot of retailers have this on a pretty good discount. And at number 6, it is the Jordan 5 Olive. And this shoe, this colorway, originally released in 2006. It was part of the short-lived lifestyle series from Jordan Brand that also included like the Jordan 4 Thunder. Olive is one of my favorite colors, so I have a natural affinity to this colorway already. I will say I don't really love the orange that's incorporated onto the shoe. Feels a bit more or a bit too Halloween-y or like pumpkin-y for my liking, but my love for olive does override my disdain for that orange on this shoe. Now, a lot of sneaker lovers that are probably around my age group or slightly older probably do already really like this colorway, but I do remember when it first released, again, I felt like it deserved a bit more attention. Honestly, I like olive so much. I was thinking about putting this shoe in my top 10 of 2024. Didn't exactly make it. I probably would have made the top 15, definitely top 20. Very nice shoe. If you still want them, they're not very hard to get. Now at number 5, it is the A Ma Maniére Converse Weapon Low While You Were Sleeping. I just reviewed this shoe. The While You Were Sleeping collection, it was the celebration of A Ma Maniére's 10th year. So there were 6 shoes as part of this collection. The Converse Weapon Lows was the final one, and just like the other shoes as part of this collection, a lot of storytelling, very rich in detail. You will not be disappointed. The materials are pretty nice as well. I don't know if it's exactly overlooked or underrated. I think a lot of people do think this is a nice looking colorway, a nice shoe, but I think the strength of the Jordan 3 and Jordan 4 from the same collection kind of overshadowed this shoe. And if you want to know more details about this shoe, I just reviewed it. Go watch that video after you watch this first. Number 4, it is the Jordan 1 Low OG Howard University. Now, just like the Jordan 1 First in Flight, a lot of retailers still have a full-size run or majority sizes available on their store. Some are actually discounting the shoe, but I think this is a very nice colorway that shouldn't just be this overlooked. This actually is a pretty historic colorway as well. It is the first time an HBCU colorway and Jordan brand has actually released to the general public. A few months ago, or was it last year? Can't quite remember. There was a PE of Howard University. That same colorway didn't actually make it to the general public release, but I think this was still very nice. Didn't have any Howard University branding, but the colorway is very obvious. Now, obviously this year we saw a bunch of pretty nice Jordan 1s, including a few 85 cuts of the Jordan 1. Obviously, the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Lows are always in demand. The Jordan 1 Mocha was very nice as well. But I think this colorway, this shoe, call me crazy, might not be as nice or as outstanding as some of the other Jordan 1s, but I think it's right up there. It is a very nice colorway. Now next, at number 3, it is the EQLZ 24/7. And EQLZ is a Chinese brand that hired Aaron Cooper, who worked decades with Nike. Very legendary designer. And even though this brand still is pretty unknown to a lot of Americans, you really have to be like a basketball head, not just a sneakerhead, but someone that's into basketball to know about this shoe. And full disclaimer, when I reviewed this shoe, they actually sent me the colorway to review, no monetary gains, just sent me the product. I was completely objective when I reviewed the shoe. I still pointed out some of the weaknesses that it had, but in all honesty, all objectivity, I think it was an outstanding debut. The traction was probably my favorite thing about the sneaker. The high booty sleeve that goes all the way up your ankles, that might be a little bit too much for some people, but as someone that grew up with high cut basketball sneakers, it does give me like likely a placebo or peace of mind that I have something wrapped around my ankles. I don't think it actually does anything functional in terms of improving support, but I do like that. And I think the design overall is pretty nice too. I like how simple the colorway is. Honestly, all of the colorways, if you go on their website, are very nice. My favorite was actually the green one, but they sent me the Marcos, and I really do think that was one of the more outstanding basketball shoes to release in 2024. My favorite was the Sabrina 2s in terms of performance. AE 1s, everybody loves, but right after that, I think it's the EQLZ 24/7. And at number 2, it is the Jordan 6 Olympic. Again, not sure if this is overlooked or underrated by a lot of people. I think this is quite a beloved colorway, but the fact that you can get it very easily still at a lot of retailers, you don't have to go through resale or anything. In Clothing, Hibbett, Foot Locker, all have quite a few sizes still available. Kind of indicates to me that I have this shoe much higher than a lot of other people. This was the shoe that players like Ray Allen and Vin Baker wore during the 2000 Sydney Olympics. That was the same Olympics that Vince Carter jumped over that 7-footer from France. He wasn't wearing that shoe, but it did make an appearance during the tournament. It is clearly a very patriotic colorway, but I think generally a red, white, and blue shoe is still very wearable, still very versatile. The materials, again, nothing super premium, and it was quite textured. As someone that grew up, had like their formative years during the early 2000s, this shoe and colorway definitely left a lasting impression for me. I expected it to get a lot more attention than it did. And number 1, this may be a surprise to a lot of people, but it is the Spizike Low Year of the Dragon. Hybrid shoes and mashups are generally not very popular. It is kind of like the ugly stepchild for Jordan brand shoes, or for me, the child that didn't become a doctor. So it's not too surprising that this shoe is underrated, overlooked, didn't really get talked about after this colorway was released. A bunch of other colorways did come after that, which I think some people liked, some people didn't. But this colorway and this shoe specifically, definitely my favorite out of all of them that dropped in 2024. I was in that group that didn't really love hybrids. I will say the Spizike specifically, not the low, just the Spizikes. It's probably the best hybrid that Jordan Brand has ever come out with. At one point during the early 2000s, you had people talking about Spizikes with their shirt off. It was a very in-demand and popular shoe. Now, the low version in 2024 is a new model, so they trimmed off the top basically. I didn't have like super high expectations, but when I got the shoe in hand, the leather was just super soft, like unexpectedly, surprisingly soft. And it was a very comfortable shoe too. I also reviewed the UNC Spizike lows. That was like the opposite. Materials were garbage, was not comfortable, very stiff. But this shoe, this specific one, I felt great on feet. I felt the storytelling was pretty well done as well. Came with a red pocket, of course this being a Lunar New Year staple. I did say that the Year of the Dragon shoes from Jordan Brand and Nike kind of didn't hit the mark for me. I feel like the dragon is such a cool animal. It had the green dragon scales, of course, but I did feel like they could have done more. Like the Air Force One Year of the Dragon, as crazy as that shoe was, at least they went for it. But that said, when I got the shoe in hand and reviewed it, it just really beat my expectations by a significant margin. I don't think it gets the credit that it deserves, maybe because it came out in January of this year. People generally do have short-term memory, like shoes that come out towards the end of the year just leaves a lasting and longer impression. But honestly, when I went through all the shoes that I reviewed in 2024 and I saw that I also reviewed this shoe, it was a pretty easy choice for me. The title of my thumbnail, like the picture itself, even said, do not overlook. Even in January, I was saying, this is going to be overlooked. Do not do it. So that's it. Thanks for watching. So inclined. Let me know what you think of my list. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come. So wear your shoes.